Ethan sat at the corner table of the little Italian restaurant, his daughter Lily across from him, her small legs swinging freely beneath her chair as she hummed a tune only she seemed to know. The place was warm, golden light flickering off the candles on each table, the scent of garlic and tomato sauce drifting from the kitchen. Ethan wasn't here for fine dining, he was here because this was one of the few places that welcomed a single dad and his energetic daughter without a second thought. And truthfully, because Claire worked here. She wasn't working tonight, though. He almost didn't recognize her at first when she walked in, the door chiming softly as she stepped through. She looked different, her dark hair loose around her shoulders instead of pinned back, a soft navy dress instead of the restaurant's uniform. Ethan's eyes caught on her as she scanned the room, her expression hopeful, her movements just a little nervous. She chose a table near the window, where the glow of the streetlights fell across her face. She sat, smoothed her dress, and kept glancing toward the door. Ethan felt something stir inside him as he watched her. She wasn't laughing with customers, carrying plates with easy grace. She was just Claire, a woman waiting for someone. A date, he guessed. The thought made him drop his eyes quickly to the menu in his hands, though he already knew what he and Lily would order. Minutes slipped by. The man she was waiting for didn't appear. Claire's smile faltered as she checked her phone, tapping the screen, typing something quickly. She set it face down and looked out the window, her jaw tightening, the glass of water in front of her still untouched. Ethan could almost feel the silence surrounding her table, heavy and sharp, a silence that said she had been forgotten. Lily, never one to miss much, leaned across the table toward her father. "Daddy," she whispered, her big brown eyes watching Claire intently. "She looks sad. She's probably just waiting," Ethan murmured back, though the truth was written plain on Claire's face. Lily shook her head, curls bouncing. "He's not coming, I can tell." She tugged on his sleeve insistently. "We should sit with her. She shouldn't be alone." Ethan hesitated, caught between his natural caution and his daughter's pure-hearted certainty. Since his wife had left years ago, he had been careful with people, careful with hope. But looking at Claire now, her fingers twisting nervously around the strap of her purse, he felt that same tightness in his chest he had felt on his own loneliest nights. Finally, he sighed and rose from his chair, placing a hand gently on Lily's shoulder to guide her toward Claire's table. She looked up, startled when they stopped beside her. "You okay?" Ethan asked softly, his voice carrying the kind of gentleness that came from lived pain. He stood awkwardly, hands shoved in his pockets, wishing he knew better words. Claire blinked, then forced a small smile. "I'm fine, he's just running late, that's all." But her voice cracked around the edges, betraying her. Lily, with the blunt honesty of childhood, leaned forward eagerly. "He's not coming," she said matter-of-factly. "But you don't have to sit by yourself, we can sit with you." Claire let out a startled laugh, half a sob hidden inside it, and pressed her hand to her mouth. For a moment, she looked like she might protest, but the loneliness in her eyes gave way to something else, relief. Ethan pulled out the chair across from her and sat down, motioning for Lily to do the same. "She's right," he said, his tone light but steady. "You don't deserve to be stood up. And if it helps, Lily and I are excellent company. Terrible at math jokes, but we know the dessert menu by heart." Claire's lips curved into a real smile this time, soft and uncertain. Her shoulders loosened as if some invisible weight had been lifted. She nodded slowly, then glanced at Lily. "Well, I do like dessert," she admitted. "Perfect," Lily chirped. "We'll get the biggest one and share." The waiter approached, confusion flickering across his face as he saw Claire with her unexpected dinner companions. But Claire waved off his questions and ordered something small, her voice steadier now, her laugh returning bit by bit as Lily chattered about school projects and Ethan teased her gently. And for the first time that night, Claire wasn't a woman waiting for someone who would never arrive. She was part of something, sitting at a table where she belonged, her heart easing with every moment. And Ethan, watching her laugh with his daughter, realized he hadn't just filled her empty seat. He had stepped into a story he didn't yet understand, one that was only just beginning. A week later, Claire was standing in Ethan's kitchen, the hum of the old refrigerator and the faint crackle of the oven filling the silence between bursts of laughter. Lily had insisted that they bake cookies together, and what was supposed to be a neat little project had turned into flour dusting the counters, chocolate chips scattered across the floor, and a tray of slightly burnt cookies that nonetheless filled the room with a sweet, comforting smell. Claire leaned against the counter, wiping her hands on a towel, laughing so hard her shoulders shook as Lily proudly held up the lopsided creations as if they were treasures. "You have to try them," Lily declared, shoving one into Claire's hand. "Even if they look weird, they're still good. Right, Daddy?" Ethan, who was leaning casually against the doorway with his arms folded, raised a brow. "We'll see. I have a feeling my daughter's definition of good is a little different from everyone else's." Claire laughed again, breaking the cookie in half. It was too crisp on the edges, a little gooey in the middle, but when she bit into it, the taste was sweet and imperfect in the best way. She smiled down at Lily. "It's perfect, just like you." Lily beamed, her chest puffing with pride, and hurried off to get more cookies for everyone, leaving Claire and Ethan in the quiet warmth of the kitchen. Claire glanced at him, her smile softening into something quieter, more fragile. "You know, I can't remember the last time I laughed this much. Or the last time I felt," she trailed off, searching for words. "Like you were home," Ethan offered, his tone gentle but certain. Her breath caught. Yes, that was exactly it, not in the grand penthouses she owned, not in the sweeping estates she could walk through without ever touching a wall or meeting a neighbor's eye. But here, in this small, slightly messy kitchen, with its faded wallpaper and chipped dishes, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like she belonged. And yet, a knot of guilt twisted inside her. Ethan didn't know who she really was. To him, she was Claire, the woman who'd been stood up on a date, the woman who laughed at his daughter's jokes and sat on the floor braiding Lily's hair with shaky fingers. He didn't know about the empire she was heir to, the weight of a billion-dollar fortune she carried like chains she couldn't quite escape. He didn't know that she had the power to buy this whole street, this whole neighborhood, if she wanted. And she wasn't sure how he would look at her if he did. She wanted to tell him. The words pressed against her throat like a tide rising too fast. But then Lily came back, arms full of cookies, and the moment passed. Later, when Lily was tucked into bed, the house fell into a quieter rhythm. Claire lingered at the door, pulling her coat around her shoulders, but not yet ready to leave. Ethan was there, leaning against the frame, his presence calm and steady. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice catching. "For what?" he asked, tilting his head. "For that night, for sitting with me. You didn't have to. Most people would have just looked the other way." He shrugged, but there was something in his eyes that made her heart ache. "Because I know what that feels like," he said simply. "To sit somewhere and realize you've been forgotten. To wonder what's wrong with you that someone could just walk away. I wouldn't let anyone feel that if I could help it." The truth in his voice struck her harder than she expected. She thought of all the years she had been surrounded by people who wanted her money, her influence, her name. But not her, not Claire. Standing here now, she realized Ethan wasn't like them. He had no idea about her fortune, and still, he had stayed. Still, he saw her. Her chest tightened, fear and longing warring inside her. She swallowed hard, lowering her gaze. "Ethan, there's something you don't know about me. I'm not who you think I am." He didn't flinch. He didn't push. He simply stepped closer, his hand brushing gently against her cheek, the roughness of his palm grounding her in a way no mansion or boardroom ever had. "Doesn't matter who you are," he said quietly, his eyes steady on hers. "I only know the woman who sat at that table with us, who laughed with Lily, who stayed even when she could have walked away. That's the only version of you that matters to me." Her breath shook as her eyes filled with tears she hadn't expected. No one had ever spoken to her like that, stripped away from everything she owned, every title she carried. For the first time in her life, someone wanted her, not her fortune, not her empire, just her. She leaned into his touch, her lips parting to speak, but no words came. Instead, she simply closed her eyes and let herself feel it, the safety, the belonging, the terrifying, beautiful truth that she was falling. And in that small kitchen, with the faint scent of burnt cookies still in the air, Claire knew she was no longer the woman who had been stood up. She was a woman who had been found.